This Michaela bitch has her talons so deep in your brain that you can't even tell you're in trouble.
Meghann Fahy trading the White Lotus's Sicilian shores for a new tide of troubles in Sirens, now streaming on Netflix. And yes, there is still plenty of drama on those beaches.
You did this!
Ethan?
The siren call is strong, and spoiler alert, we're diving deep into the biggest OMG moments, that shocking finale, and the behind-the-scenes secrets beneath the surface.
I was like, what?
And I actually, I lived my life not to devastate you.
Millie Alcock as Simone and Julianne Moore as the wellness-obsessed Kiki are caught in a toxic work storm of boss and assistant that finally comes to a screeching halt in episode 5.
You are my best friend, and now you're a threat to my marriage, and you've put everything that I have built at risk, and so now you have to go.
Kiki, please.
The finale, an unexpected tidal wave of drama, Simone hooking up with Kiki's husband, Kevin Bacon's Peter.
You okay?
Are you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we didn't know
know.
how it was gonna end until we were midway through shooting. So it was kind of baffling. I knew there was whispers of me ending up with Peter, but the way that it happened, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
whoa.
I will say though, the more I thought about it, the more I did feel like, at least for Simone and Devin, it made sense that she was gonna double down and be like, there's no chance in hell that I'm going back there, and that Devin was gonna be like, I am. That felt true to me.
Yeah.
You know?
I think Simone's plan was to secure a life that was more stable
like
than
literally
her own.
whatever it takes.
She is a killer. You know what I
Yes,
mean? She was
absolutely.
really ruthless within that, and I think that she's really vilified because of that. But I think that it's just she's just such a scared girl.
Yeah,
She is running away from herself, running away from she's willing to be whoever somebody needs her to be in order to feel safe. So it made sense. And I think Devin's character is kind of the more admirable character, because she's the one that's willing to be like, I f***ed up, I'm willing to love you and let you go. There's such a sacrifice, and I'm still running and hiding that I think that your character is kind of grows so much through that.
I also love that what you learn about Michaela is that she's made some choices that have really affected her autonomy. She's someone who you perceive as being powerful, but really she's not, because she's just sort of right under a very powerful man. Really, she's given up everything for him, and so she doesn't have any agency of her own. And she's so close to Simone that that's the last thing in the world that she wants to have happen to her. She's saying to her, don't make the choices that I made. I have an opportunity for you. I have an opportunity for work and for your own world to flourish. And then what ends up happening is that Simone kind of goes the same way that Michaela did.
But it's this twist that had even Meghann surprised.
We all know what you did to Jocelyn, babe.
Jocelyn Kell lives on an island off Washington State. She's a recluse who hasn't been seen in public for over 10 years. Because she was disfigured by plastic surgery after the divorce.
I also didn't see it coming that his ex-wife was not dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really
That she
thought
was fine.
Yeah, she had just maimed herself with bad plastic surgery, which is
it's amazing.
when Julie has that little speech where she explains it to Devin, she's so funny, Julie.
She's so funny.
I think it'll be interesting and entertaining and fun to learn these secrets in the show. I think that's the fun of it, and that was sort of what Molly was playing with the theme of Sirens too. Is that we hear the story of Sirens from the perspective of the men always. That somehow these women were so destructive and were doing these things and were luring them to their death and made the men powerless. And she's like, well, we're only hearing it from the point of view of these men. What if we heard the story from the point of view of these women?
You did this!
Ethan?
And then there was this moment in episode 4. Glenn Howerton's Ethan, in a twisted romance with Simone, goes over the edge, literally falling off a cliff, and living to tell the tale.
A rough go of it. Yeah, I'd say falling off of a mountain is probably having a rough go for sure. How did he survive it? I don't know. By some miracle. Probably was hitting a lot of branches along the way, right? Like if he was hitting rocks, I think he probably
something
would
to break his fall.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe the branches were there to just kind of, slow him down a little bit on the way down. But that was a very humbling experience, I think, for that man. I don't think he's ever been through anything like that.
Now the cast is letting some behind-the-scenes secrets sail.
I lost a toenail.
Do you
remember that?
Yes. Oh my god.
I was running. I was like running. There was like 2 weeks straight where I was running and crying. I was like running and crying for like 2 weeks straight, and then
there
I
were those
kind
long
of
stairs that we both had to climb up a bunch.
And because
we had to do it in a wetsuit.
You had to do it in the wetsuit and the nighttime.
Yeah.
And then because I was wearing these like espadrilles. I think that's the word. And my toe just kept banging it, and I was like, guys, I'm gonna lose a nail. And then it was this one. He's going back. Actually, there was one under there.
Nice.
I don't think I needed to share that, but
I am a bird lover. Actually, that's kind of my thing. I love birds, and I've handled quite a few of them. Mostly smaller birds and bigger parrots and stuff. And so, but these were extraordinary animals, and it was really, really exciting to handle them and to talk to their handlers too. And they're just wonderful. I mean, there's that moment with that young bird, that you see in like the 3rd episode, where he was very shy, and I've been kind of talking to him and giving him something to eat. He didn't want to eat anything because he was very distracted. But I spent a lot of time talking to him and stroking him. And right in the middle of the scene, I had my hand out kind of like this. He hopped onto my hand, and that's actually in the episode. And I was so excited. I was so thrilled. I can't believe I managed to keep a straight face, but I loved it. I loved working with those birds.
Could another Siren song be on the horizon? Here's what the cast wants to see in a potential season 2.
I feel like Simone would definitely be pregnant.
For sure.
For
sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the whole thing with Peter. It's like trying to... Peter's also trying to chase youth. You know what I mean? So everybody's trying to chase something that they don't have.
Yeah.
I can imagine Simone being pregnant and maybe becoming... I'd be interested to see if she became less like Michaela or more like Michaela, because now that there's no kind of blueprint into who she's expected to be, she's kind of, because she's attained wealth, so she's attained like freedom and security, so it's like she doesn't have to chase that and pretend to be someone else. So I'm curious to see if she's kind of like, I feel like she could be this like hippy dippy like yoga, like yogi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
With like a little holder on her hip.
Yep.
What do you think?
Smoking weed with Peter in the perch.
Yeah.
I like that.
Ayahuasca trip. Dude. What's Simone doing? What's Simone doing? That's
what
me.
is
What's
it?
Devin doing?
Devin, I think, is definitely... Molly and I talked a little bit because we just did. And we think she's definitely like stayed sober.
Yeah. Congrats.
We think that that's something that she stays with, and that she doesn't see Ray anymore.
Yeah. For the best.
Or work at Falafel Balls.
Yeah, dude.
I would really like it if she met someone that she could be with in a real way. That would be really sweet.
Do you think my sister's gonna be okay with him?
No. Well, who knows, I'm sure Jocelyn thought the same thing about me, but I had a pretty good run. Took him 13 years to decide that I was a monster.
I think that, there's this beautiful scene between Devin and Michaela on the ferry at the end. And it's basically two women who are acknowledging that they misjudged the other person and sort of apologizing for that in their own way and sort of like wishing the other well on whatever their journey becomes next. And it's a very humanizing moment, and I think it really represents something that the show is really commenting on throughout, which is like, our perception of people versus our reality, and how that affects how we behave and how that affects how they behave. So I hope that people think about that, and think about like how they perceive others in the world and how they can better judge less.
Yeah. What's about
be more open-minded.
Yeah.
Realize that everyone contains multitudes and you never know what someone's going through. Like you learn about her backstory and you have so much more compassion for her sort of
behavior. It all makes sense.
It's like, so, and I think that's true for everybody on some level. So I hope that is something that people take away from the show.
Self-preservation comes at many different costs, because I think that there's a level of self-preservation of all the characters inside of the story. They're all trying to hold on to something and survive something. And for me, the takeaway is always going to be like, how does someone self-preserve in given life circumstances, for me.
At the same time, I have to, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's self-preservation, but there's also allowing oneself to be true to oneself and what's in one's heart in terms of like, oh, I actually think I'm in love with this person. And I am going to ditch everything, or I am going to,
That's that self-realization,
right?
As well. Yeah, the self-realization.
And courage to embark on something that's unknown.
But you realize that sometimes just being able to be authentic is a bit of a privilege, right? Your character could never be fully authentic with anyone other than with Kevin's character, with Peter.
Sure.
Which I think is the thing that probably carries you through the whole thing, where you have to kind of be this person for everybody else, but Peter kind of does allow you to be yourself in a way.